Imagine hosting the biggest football tournament in history, but your main stadium is not even finished yet. That is exactly what happened in Uruguay in 1930. The world's very first FIFA World Cup was full of chaos and drama. And yet, when it was all over, it became one of the greatest sporting events in history. Today we are going to take you inside the first ever World Cup. Not just the goals, but the real stories behind the scenes. Did you know that the final match almost did not happen because the two teams could not agree on which ball to use? Did you know that Egyptian fans missed their ship because of a Mediterranean storm and never made it to Uruguay? Did you know it was literally snowing during the very first World Cup match, even though it was supposed to be summer? These are the untold stories of 1930, a tournament with no qualification rounds, no television, and yet it changed football forever. Stick with us, because this journey takes you back to a world where everything was new, everything was uncertain, and everything was electric.
Uruguay was chosen to host the first World Cup for three big reasons. First, they had won the Olympic football gold medal in both 1924 and 1928, back-to-back champions. Second, 1930 was the 100th anniversary of Uruguayan independence, a huge national celebration. Third, Uruguay offered to pay all travel and accommodation costs for every team. This was a massive deal during the Great Depression. FIFA agreed, and Uruguay got to work. A brand new stadium was built specifically for the tournament, the Estadio Centenario. It had a capacity of 90,000 people and was designed by architect Juan Scasso. Jules Rimet himself called it the Temple of Football. But here is the problem. The construction was delayed by a very rainy winter. The stadium was not finished on time. When the tournament started on 13th of July 1930, the Centenario was still being built. The first matches had to be played at smaller, older stadiums, including the Estadio Pocitos. It took 5 full days into the tournament before the Centenario was finally ready. The Temple of Football opened its doors 5 days late. And yet it still became one of the most iconic stadiums in the history of the game. The first World Cup was full of moments you cannot make up. The very first World Cup match was played on 13th of July 1930 between France and Mexico. 2 matches actually kicked off at exactly the same time that day, because there was no television and no live broadcast. France won 4-1. Lucien Laurent scored the first goal in history in the 19th minute while it was snowing on the pitch. Yes, it was winter in South America, and it was actually snowing during a World Cup match. Then there was Egypt. Egypt was the only African team to enter the tournament. They were all set to travel. But a storm in the Mediterranean Sea slowed their ship, and they missed their connecting vessel to Uruguay. Egypt never made it. The tournament went ahead with 13 teams instead of the planned 16. And Yugoslavia? By the time they decided to join, the main ship, the SS Conte Verde, was fully booked. They had to take a different ship and a 3-day train journey just to get to port. They still made it, and they even reached the semi-finals. The final was played on 30th July 1930 at the Estadio Centenario, Uruguay versus Argentina. It was a rematch of the 1928 Olympic final, which Uruguay had also won. The tension started before the match even began. Both teams wanted to use their own ball for the final. The dispute went all the way to FIFA President Jules Rimet. His solution: Argentina's ball would be used in the first half. Uruguay's ball would be used in the second half. Argentina went into halftime winning 2-1 with their ball. Then Uruguay used their own ball in the second half and completely turned the game around. Uruguay scored 3 second-half goals to win 4-2. Hector Castro sealed the result with the last goal. This was a remarkable moment because Castro had lost part of his right forearm in a childhood accident. He scored the winning goal in the first ever World Cup final with one arm. 93,000 fans packed the stadium. Thousands of Argentine fans had arrived by boat across the River Plate. They were searched for weapons before entering. After Uruguay won, the Uruguayan embassy in Buenos Aires was vandalized by angry crowds. The rivalry between the two countries reached boiling point that night. When the final whistle blew and Uruguay lifted the trophy, the world of football changed forever. Jules Rimet personally handed the trophy to the head of the Uruguayan Football Association. The next day, 31st July 1930, Uruguay declared a national holiday to celebrate. The first World Cup had set a standard that no one could ignore. In 18 total matches, 70 goals were scored. The tournament's top scorer was an Argentine striker named Guillermo Stabile, who scored 8 goals, including the first hat-trick in World Cup history. The tournament proved that the world was hungry for this kind of competition. FIFA immediately began planning the next edition. The 1934 World Cup would be held in Italy, this time with a full qualification process. But Uruguay, still angry about poor European attendance in 1930, boycotted the 1934 tournament. It was the only time in history that the defending champions refused to defend their title. The Jules Rimet Trophy, the golden cup that started it all, was carried safely back from Uruguay to Europe. It survived 2 world wars, a theft in England in 1966, where it was found by a dog named Pickles, and continued to be awarded until 1970. The story of 1930 is not just football history, it is human history.